Going to proceed with the order of business as set forth on the agenda. The agenda has been posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, no action items added, and actually it's basically a special meeting for these purposes, the public hearing on the budget. For the record, the date is Tuesday, July 9th, 2019. The location is the Village Hall, 401 St. John's Drive in Sherman, Illinois. Time is 5:30. It's a public hearing of the Sherman Village Board of Trustees. I'm going to move to item number 2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask everybody to stand and face the flag. And let's have Byron. How about you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Moving along on the agenda is the topic.
Is there a copy of budget for the public?
Okay, moving along in the agenda, public hearing, fiscal year 2020 budget and appropriation ordinance. Item number 1 is to open the public hearing on the tentative budget and appropriation ordinance for fiscal year commencing May 1st of 2019 through April 30th of 2020. So the public hearing is open at this time regarding the fiscal year 2020 budget. Budget's been posted or made available in accordance with the Illinois compiled statutes, the Village Hall. There's a draft ordinance before the Village Board. At this time, we have Treasurer Stunkel and Administrator Stratton in attendance. These two individuals have worked to prepare the budget. Treasurer Stunkel, could you please come forward and kind of hit the high points on what is included in the draft budget? We can change this. We will likely change this before final action and passage. And at the next meeting, which will be next week or the following week, I'll clear that up here a little bit. But anyway, Treasurer Stumble, would you please take us through and hit the high points of the fiscal year 2020 budget?
So like President said, this is still in a draft form. We're still working through it a little bit. We've made some changes. I moved some stuff out of the budget that may need to go back into the budget. So again, just really in draft form. If you want to go to page 6 of your packet, the first page, general fund budget. And so on a high note, we're starting off the year, it looks like to have about $1 million, more than $1 million in the general fund, which is the highest that it's been, so that's a good starting point. The revenues are listed there.
I want to stress that. I want to stress that to the board. The fund balance at the beginning of the year, the fund balance at the beginning of the year for the Village of Sherman is $1,027,918. Correct?
And I will stress that's an unaudited fund balance, but yes.
But it's
That's my estimated fund balance.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's an unbelievable number. It just shows the fiscal restraint we've had through the years and how we've grown over the last 10 or so years. It's been pretty incredible. The revenues listed, most of the revenues are kind of straight off of last year's income. Some items have been reduced a little bit, some items have been increased. Sales tax kind of shows a large increase over last year. The IML is estimating a large increase due to the strong labor market in Illinois right now, and nationwide, I guess, really. Our first distribution for May of 2019 was the highest it's been ever since I've been here. I think we distributed like $84,000 to us. It was a huge number, so the sales tax, I believe, is around a $40,000 increase for what we received during last year. Income tax, I think I've got that booked at like a 1.5% increase. The rest of the items are fairly straightforward and are pretty much what last year's revenue numbers were, except for second to last line, the loan lease proceeds. Right now, that is projected financing we have for some of the capital items that are in the budget. I'll go over some of those a little bit. Down below, we have the workings and management budget that is set at a slight increase over last year at $10,065. If you move next to the finance area, that composes of insurance and auditing, that's at the number of $71,521. That's pretty straightforward. On the police side, we have a fairly decent increase there, I would say. I think last year, I don't have actual numbers in front of me, but I want to say, I think we're going to end up, actually, I probably do, but it's in the packet. I want to say our expenditure for the police area were maybe around $680,000. What's in here is a new squad, or a new Tahoe, I believe, and some guns and some other supplies, as well as the debt service payments on those amounts. And then we have included in the loan lease revenue amount about $50,000 to finance that, new squad. There's some increases built in there for salaries for the police, and I believe a slight increase in the health and life insurance, but everything else is fairly standard in the police budget. In the public works, we have some increases there in the salary as well. Some other slight increases in some other line items. And then in the capital outlay is kind of a big one. So what we have outlined in this budget right now is approximately $350,000 for purchase of land and a building for the public works and sewer departments. Half of it is in the general fund budget, half of it's in the sewer fund budget, and we also have $350,000 in the loan lease revenue line for financing proceeds for that. So whether that happens or not this year, stuff that's still determined, but we have that kind of fund budget right now for that. And then underneath, and in also in that capital outlay, I believe we have a 1 ton and some other items, and I think there's some still additional items that Public Works has requested, and we're still working on some of those details. So we might present a different numbers to you guys come the next meeting. And what I'll do is, before the next meeting, from this budget to the next budget, I'll outline the changes for you and kind of tell you what those changes are, so you can see that. Parks and Recreation, we have some increases there. So we have a park maintenance. I think park maintenance kind of runs where it was last year. We have some supplies for certain park events that are happening. We have an increase in our utilities. We've seen some increases in the park utilities over the last year. We put in some heaters in the bathrooms, and that kind of generates pretty large expenditures during the winter time. And so that number is significantly higher than what was in last year's budget. We have some capital outlay there. I can't remember what that was, but I think that was some equipment going on in the park.
Right.
And then we have parks, which is an expense that we have. I think we have $60,000 budget there. We have budgeted around $50,000 in revenue for the park events that we have over there. Under the Village Hall administration, we have some salaries there. I think what we've got in there is a part-time office assistant, included in that budget, as well as a potential part-time clerk. And I don't think there's too much.
And staff as well.
And staff. Staff
Staff is
for the events, and then some and races as well built into that number. I think everything else here is pretty standard as compared to last year. I think Mike asked for some stuff and I cut it out, so maybe adding some stuff back in here. Then nothing too really crazy. And then moving down to miscellaneous items, we saw a pretty large decrease in our engineering costs last year and our legal services. I think our engineering came in around $30,000 out of the general fund during fiscal year 19, and I think our legal was less than $15,000 during fiscal year 19. I bumped it up a little bit, so I feel like that was really a historical low. I mean, it was definitely a historical low since I've been here. Hopefully maintain that same level, but these numbers kind of reflect a little bit higher number. So, and then we have
It's a Mike Stratton low.
Mike.
It's a testament to what he has been able to do.
At one time, I think our engineering fees were in the $90,000, $100,000 range, and our legal fees in the $60,000 range, and it's really, I mean, it's a really impressive
I mean, that's,
change we had last year.
that can be pointed to directly at this guy right here, literally. He has been on top of all of that, taken the lead on a lot of it, and gotten those costs under control for what I wanted in the past for many years, and has actually seen it through. I mean, that's a testament to yourself, so you definitely deserve a pat on the back for that, so thank you.
And then on the contingency, I've got that set at 10%. I think they might want to consider bumping that up for this year. It's kind of a low number. One thing that we have happening is the bike path. We're not sure if that's going to hit in this year. We're kind of thinking it won't hit this year, but if it did, that would be probably something like a $100,000 expense, which would then kind of reduce that contingency number. So we might want to bump that up just to be safe. So overall, before the contingency expenses, we're looking at a pretty much balanced budget. After contingency, we project that ending balance of $839,000. So that's kind of high levels of general. You go to the next page, we have the sewer fund. There, we're looking at a starting fund balance of around $952,000. That's before consideration of any fixed assets. The revenues are pretty much set as to what the levels were last year. I think we're contemplating a sewer increase, and the budget would not reflect that. Underneath the loan proceeds, this includes, again, $350,000 for potential purchase of land and building for the shared public works and sewer departments, as well as $50,000, I believe, for an excavator. And again, there's some additional equipment that the sewer department has requested that is not in here, but that might change when we present the final budget to the board at the next meeting. Everything else here is really straightforward, not a whole lot of changes or anything out of the ordinary on the sewer fund. Going to the next page, we have the motor fuel tax fund. We're starting there with an estimated fund balance of approximately $229,000. MFT allotment is based upon IML's most recent projection for that number per capita. I don't know if they have included the increase that went into the gas tax and how it really impacts us. I'm not really sure, but this number might change when we come to the next hearing. But in here we have some projects kind of lined up. So if you notice, we're looking at a projected kind of a decrease in our MFT fund. I don't know if you want to speak to any of those projects that we have in here, Mike.
It's projects that the board approved at I think the January and December meetings, in which we talked about Windermere Drive, we talked about the road projects that we continue to do. We just let a contract in Broughton for up to $25,000 to continue the dip work that's throughout the village.
Old Tipton.
Old Tipton.
And Old Tip.
Old Tip, yep. There's other projects in there associated with, I think we're redoing Sebring Road, kind of put a new fresh patch over that, but that's a small amount of money. Village Center Road, we've got a base failure there. We're working with Williams Township on coordinating something there within the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Again, there's some street lighting things in here that we're doing as well to reduce costs over the long term. So a lot of good things coming our ways and for the residents.
So there's no financing built in for those projects, so we'll be looking at a decrease in using our existing fund balance to kind of pay for some of those projects. Moving to the next page, on the TIF fund budget, we're not required to do a budget for the TIF. We've been doing that historically. I think our bond agreement actually said we're supposed to. We've outlined this. I really haven't dug into the TIF budget in much detail. I might start to put together, and I really haven't talked about it. So here, this is really draft preliminary form, and there might be some changes to this by the next meeting. Revenues are basically based upon last year's revenue, and we have some projects in there, mainly related to the park. We have our annual rebate that we have to get back for the original TIF. But other than that, I can't say too much about the budget. We won't go through that in a little more detail before the next meeting. And then I think the last one is just the general obligation bond. So this is basically just a letter we do for our current bond payments that we have for our street projects, and basically what comes in is going to go back out, and that's it. So, and that's pretty much the high levels of the budget that we have right now. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Questions regarding the fiscal year 2020 budget? We've been doing this together so much for a number of years that's kind of like it's second-hand nature here. So,
I was just concerned about the gas, prices going up.
and for fuel for squad cars and things like that. Yeah, he's built that in.
We built up a little bit of a number. It might not be enough, but it was increased over the prior years.
So, but what we also do is in terms of the budget versus the appropriated amount. So that's another 25% over the actual budgeted amount, so that it will cover a lot of those line item expenses. So theoretically, we have the budget, and then we do 25% on top of that in terms of the appropriated amount. But the goal and the parameter that the department heads are to work off of and work from is the actual budgeted number. But if they do have to exceed it for unforeseen circumstances or somewhat foreseen circumstances, it's already in there. Now, if we're gonna bump up against that, we can always come back and do a supplemental budget or supplemental line item to adjust that, to make it within the parameters and take from the contingency or something, similar to that in nature. Anything else?
No, so yeah, the other thing is we when we pass our budget, we actually pass it by department. So our managers, supervisors, they budget towards individual items, but our overall budget, like for police, is based upon, one larger number. So that also protects us in terms of going over a stipulated amount. But the managers manage to the individual line item, not to the overall budget for the department.
Comment. If you strip out the potential building, some of the capital outlays associated with that, and then the associated loan proceeds, the budget appears to be balanced. It appears that we have a capital outlay. I'm talking about just the general fund here, $517,000 with loan and lease proceeds of $477. So it looks like we're funding about $40,000 of equipment just in our normal operations, which we need to do that because stuff wears out, etc. My only concern is that I'd like to have it stripped. Well, I don't know what the deal is here, but the budget, if we do a building, going forward, we'll have to include debt service, and which is not part of here. This is simply
Actually, I should have brought that up. It is. So I have projected debt service for the building in the debt service line.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, I did bring it up. So I did mention that. So actually, I have projected, I believe, 6 months of payments in the debt service line for fiscal year 20. Maybe it happens in the next 3 months. I highly doubt that would happen, but there is 6 months of payments that I want to say it's either 3 or 6 months of payments that I have projected in that debt service line for the building.
Okay. I guess my thought is that I think we need a building. I think we need to do this, but this is my thought, that having it in here, we need to have it in here, but when I vote on this tonight, well, not tonight, but our next meeting, just because it's in here doesn't mean that's an approval to buy the land and building. That will be a separate deal. And at that time, we'll determine how much you want to borrow, how much cash you want to take from other funds to be paid down. So I want to make sure that we all agree, or at least I understand that just because it's in here doesn't mean we're actually going to do it, although I think we need to do it.
Those guys think.
I mean, I'm not saying I think we need to do it, but that will have to be a separate deal.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it's gonna go through a public bid process for the building and everything anyway.
Yeah.
So that'll come forward. It'll be a competitive bid, public bid, RFP will be let.
Yeah, I just make sure that it'll be a specific ordinance that we decide to do it, although at the end of the day, I think we do it.
But otherwise, they've got that excavator ready and they're digging a hole, might stick it in it. A building is so badly needed.
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
you guys not sitting in here aside, we definitely need a public works facility. I mean, look
Yeah,
at
my thought is that you talk about Tahoe or a new police vehicle in the budget. That, in my opinion, if we pass this, that's okay, 'cause that's just a equipment purchase, we do it bad, we're to do that. The building and land acquisition, that's a separate deal.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Overall, we're still subject to the purchasing policy. of the
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That kind of drives everything, so.
Even a vehicle though, every purchase.
You can bid
It'll come in, but
We'll
you
bring it
can,
back to the board.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every purchase comes back, even when we do it in the budget, so. Not every purchase, you know,
Right.
large ones like that. So, all right. Any other questions?
Have we heard anything back from the teachers?
No, not yet. Questions? Thoughts?
No?
What time is it? 10 till? Okay, so as Treasurer Stoneful stated, we may make a few tweaks here and there, and then we'll pass those along to the board to take into account everything that was said here this evening. Working through a few other items in terms of needs. Now, I want to also stress that just because we passed this budget this evening, and like Trustee Schultz said, you know, it may be in there, and we may come, you know, we bring it back and do it. That does not mean that if a need arises, we can't address that, pull from the contingency or adjust by supplemental appropriation in the future. We can amend the budget, you know, from time to time, at any time. So as we move forward, this final passage doesn't mean various things are off the table, and they may come back up in the future. But it's a good, strict working document to try and adhere to, but not strict that is set in stone. So,
But we can wait till next week.
what's that?
Or next
And then
meeting.
any changes we will pass along to the village board, you know, with the comments on, you know, what, you know, compared to the draft and the new version and why. And so these guys are really kind of boots on the ground right now working. And in the past, you and I were boots on the ground, and we've built this village up administratively to where we can
Yeah,
have it like
I haven't
it's
spent
supposed
very
to
much
be.
time on this one, but I did go through all the revenue items, and they're all reasonable.
Yeah, and that's what these guys' duties and responsibilities are, you know, to report to the board and put this in front of us so that we're not literally, you know, sitting down and crunching the numbers like we used to. Not that we don't still, but you know what I'm saying. So again, I want to point out the fund balance to start the year is, like Treasurer Stumple said, right at $1 million or a little over $1 million. I know when I started in 2007 with Trustee Long, Trustee Tim, Trustee Schultz, Brett followed shortly after that, and you guys had started up, you know, after that. But the fund balance, going off memory, to start the year was around $110,000 or $117,000, something like that. So, like you said, but there's a goal to try and get this to where if we have a catastrophic loss of one of our large sales tax generating businesses, that we do not have to lay individuals off, that we can, you know, sustain a period of time where we don't have any revenues coming in, or in the past, when being disciplined when the state was not distributing sales tax revenues, or local government distributed fund revenues, or, you know, road and bridge taxes, all the various different things that we've seen, you know, either lag or somewhat get swept and not be distributed to us. Or if there's a change in the formula for local government distributed fund, you know, the percentage that comes to us, we can, you know, sustain that. So it's good fiscal policy, it's good fiscal management, and we're on the correct and proper trajectory. to sustain something like that if it were to happen. I hope it doesn't, but always good to have a healthy savings account and rainy day funds, so to speak.
And there's one thing I want to say that's not in here is we do have funds in our sewer bond interest fund that is not reflected in the sewer fund on this page. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's like 440,000 or somewhere in that range. And we do have those funds there that have been sitting there for quite a long time that are not built into any of the fund balances you see in the budget here.
And we've met with the auditors regarding these funds, and, you know, by ordinance, I believe that we can address that and transfer that into potentially a different fund. So that may be something that comes before the board in the future too. We just need
Something
to,
where we do purchase a building and we want to draw from that fund or a portion of that fund to make a down payment, you know, that's there available.
Yeah. Okay. That's gonna bring,
You said the next draft that would just have the differences between 19 and 20.
The next graph will just, it would be updated fiscal year 20. And I can drop in the fiscal year 19 budget if you want to see. If you want to see
go
it.
back and find it. I just want to see the differences.
Yeah, I can drop it in and send it out to you guys. Usually, I think I've had it in there past, and this year, I don't have it in there.
No worries.
Yeah, or I might have hit the count, so I can drop it in.
Perfect, thank you.
okay, so that's gonna bring us to the public comment period. I only have one individual who is signed in, has not stated whether you would like to address the board or not.
Yeah, I was wanting to see it first. so-
Okay, so you have maybe written down.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Okay, you wanna come forward and,
On the TIF revenues, I noticed you have 1.455 million estimated revenue for the year, but you only have 572 in tax rebates. Is it still 50% of the amount that you declare as what is it?
surplus?
Surplus, and
That's
so
the
that
resolution.
number 572 would be more like 727.
It is 50%, and then that's just of the original TIF, so the revenues comprise of all the TIF districts. And like I said, the TIF budget is very preliminary. I didn't have time to really
Okay.
dig into it. And
So
that's
the 1.455 is all three combined tips?
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. On the revenues on the general fund, loan lease proceeds, is that what you have outstanding?
No, that would be the amounts that we would borrow to cover capital purchases during projected amounts we would borrow to cover projected purchases during the year.
Okay, so but it's counted as revenue because you're borrowing.
It's counted as revenue because that's how you account for it underneath GAAP principles for basically fund accounting.
Okay, so you're projecting, in total general fund, you're projecting expenditures greater than your income for the year?
We're actually not, so
Okay,
we're projecting expenditures of about, before the contingency, which we just kind of build that in there just for safe purposes. So our expenditures are about 1.925 million, and our revenues are 1.929 million, so about a $3,000 or $4,000 difference, excess revenues over expenditures.
and the contingency, is that a total of the 25% difference?
It's basically just 10% of our total expenditures.
Okay. All right, guess that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's gonna bring us to the adjournment of the public hearing. Is there a motion to adjourn? Trustee Tim makes a motion, seconded by trustee Long. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. We're adjourned at 6:01. Okay.